Okay, Matt, something I've seen increasingly popping up on my feed, whether it's content from this creator themselves or people talking about this creator, is something called Clavicular, which is very much up your street. Not personally, but in terms of the stuff you investigate. And I want to know about Clavicular.
I think that the media and the public are kind of misunderstanding what's happening with Clavicular.
Because he's been popping up on people's feeds, but then also he's been getting quite a lot of media coverage recently as well.
Exactly. There's countless think pieces about Clavicular, creating the perception that all young men are interested in Looksmaxxing, which we'll explain in a second. But in reality, I think that this is essentially a marketing campaign. And I'll get into why in a second. But first, a short bio of Clavicular. His real name is Braden Peters. He's a 20-year-old Looksmaxxing streamer from New Jersey. He's been active for a few years, but he's completely blown up and become, the man of the internet right now.
What's going on, fellas? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a good one for you.
That's such a good phrase, the man of the internet. I feel like there's a person of the internet probably every week.
Yeah, well, he's certainly the man of the manosphere. I mean, it was Andrew Tate. Now it is arguably him.
And so his name itself relates to the bone, the clavicle, and that connects to this thing. What's it called? Looksmaxxing.
Yeah. So basically, the width of his clavicles, i.e., his collarbone, is significant, and that's why people call him clavicular, and that's something Looksmaxxers are obsessed with. So Looksmaxxing, it comes out of the incel community, involuntary celibates. It's actually kind of sad. If you go on the forum where Clavicular kind of started, looksmax.org, it's a very sad place. It's full of people, boys often under the age of 15, who they believe this kind of incel thing that we live in a sexual marketplace and that women are hypergamous, which means that they will only mate with someone who has, better genetics than them or more money than them. And there's no kind of courtship, there's no love in this world. It's just, how do you improve your looks to achieve the highest sexual marketplace value, because we live in this biologically determined kind of Darwinian sexual marketplace. And so what Looksmaxxers do is they do all sorts of crazy things like bone smashing, which is where you smash the bones on your face to kind of increase your chiseled bone structure look. Through bruising. They take kind of gray market peptides and testosterone and steroids. They do frauding, which is basically like kind of lying. So that's like putting inserts in your shoes to make you look taller, et cetera, et cetera. Clavicular himself, he started taking testosterone, according to him, at the age of 14, as a result of which he's now, according to him, infertile. So that just shows you how extreme the lengths he'll go to for Looksmaxxing. He also says that he took meth and Adderall to kind of hollow his cheeks out and reduce the fat in his body. So
it's all like really extreme.
It's kind of extreme body dysmorphia. The other thing about Looksmaxxing is the vocabulary. So the way that most people kind of encountered Clavicular for the first time was this meme where he's standing next to a frat leader, and it says, Clavicular got brutally frame-mogged by an ASU frat leader. Getting frame-mogged means like, MOG stands for, it comes from alpha male of the group. It's an acronym. And to mog someone is to like present yourself as superior to them. And frame-mogged means you have like a wider muscular frame than them. So that kind of ridiculous lingo gets you into their heads a little bit.
It's like speaking an entire, I mean, I always think this, like in like most of the kinds of subcultures that we investigate online, there's like certain words you learn, like crisis actor with Conspiracy Land, say, or whatever. It's like this, I feel like particularly in this kind of realm, there's just like, I've never heard of MOG before.
Yeah, exactly. But I think one of the reasons this has gone so viral is because people are kind of performatively and ironically participating in that discourse and using that vocabulary, because it's...
Well, even if they don't buy into it.
Even if they don't buy into it, because it's so funny and ridiculous. And that then makes it go more viral, and it kind of cascades
And
into
is that how overnight
reality.
he just became such a thing?
It's part of it. It's part of it.
Because it felt like he kind of came out of nowhere. Like as someone who's not hanging out in the manosphere on a regular basis.
So whenever someone becomes that viral that quickly, you should always question why and what's behind it. It's very rarely organic. And the rise of Clavicular reminds me a lot of the rise of Andrew Tate. So I've been looking into how he's become so famous so quickly. And I think it's all part of what I call the kind of rage bait industrial complex. So to understand how he's become famous, you have to understand, first of all, what Kick is, the platform that he streams on, and second of all, what clipping is. So Kick is basically a kind of controversial streaming platform where people live stream their entire lives. It's a competitor to Twitch, which is the biggest streaming platform. They've been called like the Wild West of streaming because they've been accused of not having the same kind of rules and regulations as to who they let stream. And Kick is connected to a crypto gambling company called Stake. And a lot of the streamers on Kick, including Clavicular, are not just streaming themselves doing like Looksmaxxing stuff. They're also streaming themselves gambling on Stake. Okay. So that's an important part of it. The second part of it is clipping. Clipping is this kind of internet economy where a clipper gets paid per 1,000 clicks on a clip that they put on social media. And according to Clavicular, he has a whole army of clippers. He says he has 950 clippers. He also says that he's given a 7-figure per month budget from Kick for clippers. So when you encounter Clavicular, you're likely encountering him via a clip that has been posted by one of these paid clippers who are incentivized to get the most controversial, craziest things that he's done, write the stupidest, most outlandish caption and post that.
Essentially getting really good at gaming the algorithms, which we know will promote stuff that triggers a reaction. Et voila, that's the kind of stuff you're seeing.
So he's kind of following the tried and tested path now for far-right and manosphere influencers, which is say the most outlandish, taboo-breaking, controversial stuff on the internet, become famous,
Gets
get
pushed by the
reclipped,
algorithms,
then go on podcasts and appearances with other right-wing manosphere influencers, which then creates a whole new kind of ecosystem of things that can of footage that can be reclipped. This is called cross-pollination.
And I guess you're implicitly endorsed as well by an influencer who the people who are listening to their podcast or following their content, they like them. So they think, oh, well, therefore I might be interested in you.
Exactly. Now, this kind of came to a T in this clout bomb moment where he was filmed.
Clout bomb is a great word.
He was filmed at a Miami nightclub with the misogynist influencer Andrew Tate, with the avowed white nationalist Nick Fuentes, and with Sneeko, another controversial manosphere figure. And they were chanting Heil Hitler along to Ye's song, right? They are saying the most obnoxious, often racist, often controversial stuff because it gets the most attention, which they can then translate into fame and money if they're clever about it.
How exactly is Clavicular doing that? Like, what have you've been looking into the way that he's monetizing his infamy or fame, however we want to describe it?
Well, first of all, there's the relationship with him, Kick, and the crypto gambling website Stake. So that's one source of income for him. Second of all, he's also selling a course similar to Andrew Tate, who also got famous through Clippers. He is selling a course for $49 a month.
You're stuck in this nightmare where you're constantly being judged, constantly being overlooked, and constantly reminded that you don't measure up. And the worst part is, every day that goes by, you're getting older. Your window is closing. And if you don't fix it now, you're going to wake up 5 years from now in the exact same position or worse.
But that is quite expensive.
Yeah, and
He'd be making a lot of money, surely.
I signed up to the course, and based on the members, if they're all legitimate, I calculated he'd be making at least $60K a month just from this course. And it's a course that basically helps teach you to ascend, which is the Looksmaxxing term for achieving your maximum sexual marketplace value. Through modifying your appearance. What I found out when I signed up for this course to check it out was, first of all, he says, makeup isn't feminine, it's tactical warfare for the face. So he teaches men how to do makeup. He's advising people on taking, before they go and interact with women and flirt with women, they should be taking Viagra, testosterone, use something called a vacuum erection device. They should be taking pregabalin, gray market peptides, which, by the way, he also sells now himself on his own website. And SSRIs as well. And that's all to make you like more confident in front of women.
It feels like being connected to incel culture, but then also talking about sexuality are at odds with one another, kind of because of the nature of what being an incel is. So yeah. What's going on there?
So you could describe him as post-incel. So basically, incels call themselves involuntarily celibate because they feel they will never ever find a woman who's attracted to them because they inherently don't have those qualities. He is saying you can improve. Okay, so yes, you have low sexual marketplace value and you're a nobody and no one's ever going to love you unless you buy my course. And then you can ascend in his terms. And then women will maybe actually like you. He says dating apps are a Darwinian theater and you are the director. So he also teaches you how to kind of manipulate your appearance on dating apps. He also says some very problematic stuff, which kind of crosses the line into potentially sexual coercion. He says you should inch closer to a woman until your erection is her problem. Kiss her, do not ask. He also
it's really explicit stuff. Like it's not,
Yeah.
it's not like, sometimes with these kinds of influencers, as you know, they'll make it a little bit more cryptic. Like this feels quite explicit and direct.
Exactly. And also he posts messages of him speaking to a model on Instagram and where he says, and this is a quote, "You're a mentally demented whore and you should rub my semen on your face." I think this raises serious questions for this kind of world we live in now, where we award the biggest platforms to people and financially incentivize them to be as controversial,
And as
as
outrageous.
misogynistic, as outrageous as possible.
Fundamentally, this is about people's ability to seek out engagement and how they do that and how they can farm outrage and how they can get their posts to get as many eyeballs and clicks as they want. And it almost kind of becomes not ideological, and you get to this tricky place where you can't really work out what people believe anymore.
Why this is worrying is because it represents a kind of new era of digital feedback loop nihilism, where maybe Clavicular might say that he is not, racist and he is not political, which he has said. He's all about mogging, not politics, right? That's what he says. But he represents a new kind of nihilism where it's not a problem for him to associate with white nationalists in order to get attention, in order to make more money. We say that cancel culture is a thing. Clearly it isn't.
Yeah, I guess there's two things here. One is that people's ideological purpose has almost become to get engagement. It's not actually about anything that's overtly political one. So it's almost like this new ideology that you can adopt, which is being basically like extremely online and just wanting engagement regardless of what you're sharing and the impact of that. And then secondary to that is the element of a lack of, to your point about cancel culture, a lack of shame. It's like there's actually not, there's no real accountability. In fact, often it's rewarded when you share this kinds of stuff. So of course you're not going to turn around and, shy away from speaking to me on the phone or shy away from posting the kinds of stuff you're describing, because actually you benefit from doing that. It's interesting that we have spoken about a few accounts that use pseudonyms because they're clearly aware that in some circles in real life, what they're doing might not be quite so okay. But in the social media world, it feels like you can basically do what you want and then everything moves on.
You get more famous if you show your face. I think and where I think a lot of the mainstream media and the think pieces about Clavicular have kind of missed the point here is they've taken the popularity of Clavicular to represent that young men are now interested in Looksmaxxing. Looksmaxxing is still very niche, right?
Yeah.
What this actually is people sharing, if they are sharing his content, they're sharing it almost because it's so ridiculous and niche that there's an element of the freak show to it. And to that extent, he could be compared to someone like Bonnie Blue or the Liver King, another one of the algorithm's kind of favorite monstrosities, in that people are sharing it because it's so ridiculous, not because it represents some new movement amongst young men, but because it's so ridiculous. But where that then enters the mainstream and becomes political is, I think that we are nearing the end of Clavicular's internet lifespan, unless he translates what he's doing into a political movement. That is what Andrew Tate did. And so when these figures begin to not just say, look at this crazy, weird thing I'm doing, follow me, but actually turn themselves into a political cause. Look, they're trying to cancel me. They're trying to silence me. I'm trying to teach you to Looksmax. They don't want you to know this. That's when you then become an Andrew Tate or a Tucker Carlson or someone who actually has a long life online.
Okay, that is the end of the first episode. Are you feeling overly interneted?
I do. I feel, I've spent too long looking into Clavicular and I'm glad, I feel like I can now put that to rest.
Thanks so much for watching. We're going to be back next week with another episode of Top Comment. Don't forget to subscribe.